Good morning and welcome to the Main Street Board of Directors February 8th meeting. I want to call the meeting to order. Roll call. Been taken care of. Excellent. We have a quorum. You have an agenda in front of you, and if there is anybody that would like to add something to the agenda, it would be at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented. There's motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Excellent. We have an agenda. We also have the minutes from our January 11th meeting. Is there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor of the minutes being entered into the record indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. I'm sorry, gosh, that was terrible. I thought, can I get a motion for the minutes? There's so moved, and can I get support? Any further discussion? I'll get with it here. Now, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Thank you for your help.
We don't do that part.
Well, that part's not that right. No, okay. We'll move on to our Main Street Directors report.
All right, good morning, everybody. First thing on our agenda was radio ship, First Friday radio sponsors. We did have one remaining until about 3 minutes ago, and Noe Law Office is going to take April for us, so we appreciate that. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, oh, and we'll also be sending out invoices to everybody, so those will go out. I'll get with finance today and get all those invoices out to them. Farmers market manager update. So far, we've had very limited response. We are looking for a farmers market manager. It'll be about 15 hours a week. We had agreed to pay up to $10,000 for that position, so we are still looking for that as well. Right along this same breath, the restrooms at the pavilion are probably 98% complete. We're just waiting on hand towel dispensers, soap dispensers, toilet paper, and grab bars, but the majority of the infrastructure is all complete. So those will be ready for us very soon in the spring when we start firing that up. So that's great news. Match on Main is active right now. I've had a couple of businesses to reach out and ask for information about it. So we plan on, the deadline is February 17th, and then we will be sending that out to the MEDC by the 24th. So the group will get together, make a decision on who our representatives will be, and we'll pass that forward. And then last thing on my report of fundraising, we do have a slide deck that you can see on the screen above you. It was also in your packet. I'm not going to go through and give you the heavy spiel on it, but you can see, we're looking at different areas, our goals, events, projects, talking about economic vitality and what some of the fundraising activities would be. As you go farther in, tells a little bit about downtown Main Street, what our mission statement, talks about what our transformation strategy is, and then really our goals on the next page there, talking about creating a foundation for sustainable revitalization, focusing on capital incentives and other economic tools to assist businesses, and then being the center of the community as a hub of economic activity and a positive image to showcase our unique characteristics. As we go through, talks a little bit about our events, community, culture, and arts is in our mission statement. Then it shows some of what our events look like. First Friday, City Band, Farmers Market, and then our partnered events. Next one, projects. We're looking at design stimulus, capital improvements, and art enhancements. And then some ideas for those would be murals, light pole features, really ramping up the sculpture project, and then decor and plants for downtown. Through economic vitality, we're looking at micro retail, small business support, and then a point of contact for new businesses within the city. And you look at potential economic, vitality improvements being pavilion upgrades, market on Main, the Riverfront Park, and then potentially a Main Street Pocket Park. As we look at fundraising activities, basically breaking them down into 4 groups: foundational, sponsorships, grassroots, and then donations. As we go through those, we look at the last really is just through the pitch would be really how can you help downtown Adrian grow? So again, this is kind of the first draft. It's something that we've needed and been working on. The fundraising committee will be meeting. So we'll have a meeting scheduled for this probably later this week. We'll schedule it. I don't know when it'll be, but that's when we'll put it on the, we'll make sure we get it scheduled by then. Any questions about that or thoughts, concerns, comments?
Any comments? Thank you for that good work, Jay. We're getting closer. So again, I appreciate everybody's patience, especially as it relates to the fundraising committee. We will have a meeting before next meeting. I said this like 5 times now. So, but that'll be a helpful guide for us to use when sitting down with our stakeholders. Any questions for Jay? Thank you for your report. We'll move on to the finance committee, Brad.
Yep, so I distributed that to everybody. Not significant changes in any of our expenditures in the last month. We are still on track for, I'm gonna guess probably in the neighborhood of a $3,000 surplus at the end of the fiscal year, since we managed to raise a little bit of money by him jumping in a giant pool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at this point. Not taking into account the fact if we hire a marketing, market manager, So that's kind of where we're at.
Any questions for Brad? All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial reports as presented. There's been there's a motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Thank you, Brad.
Sure. So also, me and Jay are gonna meet tomorrow about the next fiscal year's budget. So we're basically just gonna break out a few more line items just so that we can see a few more things a little clearly, like a DARA cup income line and an expenditure line, that we were not lumping stuff together, probably several other line items so that we can see what's going on a little bit clearer next year. So we're gonna do a draft of that. We'll submit it to the city, but I think we won't finalize it until after our next meeting, I think. So we'll be able to bring that to everybody.
Yeah, we'll be able to bring before it's final.
Yep. So just update on that.
Excellent. All right. Greg, report from the city of Adrian.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I see my assigned topic is our public area closure policy, which the city commission reviewed yet again Monday night, and I think has now reached a consensus on it. So kind of update you as to the highlights of what that will include. Some of these things have significance for DDA Main Street. Parades not so much. Our parade policy is going to provide for someone to get a permit for one of 3 established routes for $25. If they want to deviate from one of the established routes, then it's $25 per intersection. And they will need to participate in putting no parking signs up for the route, or the applicant that is, or they will have to pay the actual cost of that if in fact city staff has to do it. Street closures, which is probably the most significant thing to you. Only DDA Main Street is going to be able to close downtown streets going forward. There will be an option for rotating single block code closures or the whole 4 blocks of downtown, the 100 blocks of downtown. We radically reduced the fees, so basically we're subsidizing those events. $150 for a single block, $325 for all 4 blocks. There are 2 categories of relationship with DDA Main Street that we're envisioning. Sponsored events, which would be your own events. For example, we understand First Friday is going to become a DDA event going forward. So for those sorts of events, which are characterized by the DDA collecting any revenues associated with it, sponsorships or vendor funds, so on. For those events, we will not charge a fee. The other category of events are partner events. And the example of that would be our Delicious, or what we expect our Delicious to continue to look like, where it will continue to collect its own vendor fees and keep those. They will pay the fee that is established for those sorts of events, but we will still expect them to partner with and be approved by the DDA for that event, and the DDA Main Street program can help them grow their event using the Main Street approach is our expectation. Same policy regarding the posting of signs and cleanup. You're on your honor kind of to do that, but if staff has to step in and do it, you'll be billed for that, and you will not be able to pull any further permits until that bill is paid. Parking lot closures. Well, this refers to downtown public parking lots. The policy we've arrived at there is that only downtown business owners can request those, or property owners downtown can request those, and only for lots that are pre-approved. Some lots we will not allow closures for example, behind City Hall. It just gets too much use from us and from the Croswell and from the library, so we won't be allowing closures behind City Hall. But other lots, there will be the opportunity to close up to 2,000 square feet of those lots for up to 12 hours. A minimal fee of $150 that can be waived by the DDA for its sponsored events if the closure is related to one of its sponsored events. Same rules regarding cleanup and sign posting. We will not tow any cars from the closed area unless signs have been posted 24 hours in advance. The farmers market pavilion, what we envision going forward is that we're going to turn over management of that, if you will, to DDA Main Street. So you will be able to collect the revenues from that. We anticipate that you'll make a recommendation to us about adjusting the fee because that is a pricier thing right now than probably is desirable. Not that it's not justified, but we want to encourage the use of that area as a gathering space. And so we look forward to your recommendation as to how to do that going forward. And then finally, residential street closures. You can close the residential street if 50% of the folks on that street agree to it. Again, a minimal fee of $150 for that. All of these sorts of requests require at least 30-day notice going forward for us to process them. And then the pavilion I already mentioned. So that's the policy. We envision that it'll be adopted by resolution by the City Commission at their February 20th meeting. Happy to answer any questions that you might have on that.
Questions for Greg on this?
Do you anticipate this will be approved? This is Margaret Noe. Thank you. This is Margaret Noe. Greg, do you anticipate this will be approved?
I do. We had, as I said, quite substantial discussion.
Yeah.
There appeared to be consensus at the end of the pre-meeting discussion on Monday night, and so the commissioners are expecting a resolution to come back February 20th.
Thank you.
I have a question. How large is the parking lot outside of the farmers market area, the pavilion? I'm trying to picture it and I can't remember.
It's large.
It's large.
Yeah.
Is it used frequently by buildings around it?
The farmers market
Heavily.
parking lot? No.
Okay.
That's
Just
where city personnel and city vehicles often park. So
okay.
that we keep the
Just curious because
behind City Hall.
The parking lot behind our building gets closed occasionally for like car shows and things like that. And I was just wondering if maybe that would be a better parking lot to.
So that's our intent, is to turn that into a placemaking space and have people go there for larger events, you know, maybe not as big as a street closure event, but to growing events or smaller events in that area. There's, you know, the restrooms are one thing that's been added. We're looking at other features to add that to make it more appealing.
I should add that the other thing we're kind of still deliberating a little bit as it relates to this, and I'd be interested in the thoughts you have on it, is how the rotation of the one block closures would work. The reason we provided for a rotation is because almost universally everybody selects East Maumee Street, which is both viewed as a burden to some businesses on that street and a boon to others. But in fairness, we want that to rotate. The issue with that is that one of the 4 blocks of downtown is substantially shorter than all the others, which is West Maumee Street. And so we're kind of thinking about maybe 3 block rotation, East Maumee, South Main, North Main, and you can have West Maumee if you want it, but we're not going to force you to take that. Would be interested in any thoughts you have on that topic as well.
That's interesting. You brought that up, Greg, because I've been thinking about it ever since the meeting Monday night and driving, and I drive through downtown every single day, at least 3 times a day. And I was noticing that all the blocks seemed the same size except West Maumee, and was wondering about a rotation taking West Maumee out unless somebody really wanted that. So I think, in my opinion, I think that's a much better idea and a better thought. I know there was some concern that was brought to the pre-meeting on Monday night from people that were worried they would get in the rotation and get put on West Maumee, and it was too small for their event because it is substantially shorter. So I think that would at least alleviate that concern. You're never going to make everybody happy though, because they're all going to still want to be probably in the block we're in right now. It just happens to be that way. There tends to be more bars, more activity, more businesses open during those events. It's just the nature of the beast of how it's just laid out right now. And so I feel like people are still going to always want that, but I feel there is enough coming into Adrian on these other blocks on Main Street that at least now that'll start to pump that up and get people excited. And at least if it's got the distance, like I know that was more the concern that was brought to us Monday night, and it's true. It's just, that's a much shorter block on West Maumee. So at least if it's the same size, we're at least alleviating that issue. But obviously, like I said, everybody's still going to always want the east side of Maumee, I feel, but I just feel in fairness. And the other thing that I had brought up at that meeting was that I don't want to see the same people get the same block all the time. And so Greg had suggested there that it's something that maybe if it's in a chronological order, that it changes which block it starts at the next year, so that you are not like the same group is not always getting the same block all the time, to keep that rotation going, because that was a concern of mine as well.
Closing South Main makes me think that North Main would be highly affected by that. So how do the impact to the flow of traffic going around Broad and coming back in on the other side would be the way most people would take. So it gets sort of quiet on North Main, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The other way around, maybe the same. I don't know. So it's like, should you shut the whole Main Street down, or should you just let it be one? Because I don't know how the cars would react. Flow of traffic.
Would you not be able to?
One of the things we wanted to avoid was having a street closed with the intersection in the middle open, just for safety purposes, as people decide it's okay to walk in the street. We don't want them traffic flowing through that street at a certain point. Hence the 1 block instead of 2 block closures. I'm not saying that couldn't be done, but that was our thinking on the matter.
I got you.
So every regardless of what block you're assigned, the 4 corners would be shut down. That intersection would it would be open. Okay. Geez, I had another question too. So it's just luck of the draw what block is up when you put a permit request in?
Yes, that's a proposal.
Okay.
And we are discussing, this is something that definitely was just the beginning of the discussion Monday night, but about, the aesthetics and the looks and like, how are we going to barricade this? Because, there was talk about having vehicles there for safety, like the DPW, like truck and like a police car. And, but then it got into a whole discussion and they're going to further investigate, what would it look like to put like a different kind of barricade. It's very cost heavy from what we were already quoted, but, just, and no matter what's decided on the barricade, I think signage is going to be the key to all of this. What is this event going on? How do I get around downtown? So if it is an issue that you are coming down Main, have detour signs that say you can come back up, you can still get to South Main or opposite or however it works. I think the key to that is going to be signage and communication.
Are people who are asking for this responsible for creating the detour? That seems a little dicey.
No, the DPW would do the detour sign.
So that's part of the cost of the, and just a comment about South Main. I don't know. I mean, I know projects are coming on that block. If I were an organization forced to have my event on South Main, I would probably take it out of the downtown currently, because that street, there's stuff on the sidewalks that should be taken out. I mean, it's just bad. It doesn't look good. So just a comment.
That was my fear as well, was that people that are used to having a certain space are creatures of habit and they're forced to do it in a different spot.
I would agree too. I think they would move someplace else.
Well, we started this discussion with the premise that you could only close all 4 blocks of downtown, and if you had a smaller event than that, where we would like to see it take place is at the Farmers Market Pavilion. But we got comments from those who attended the discussions, the workshops that the City Commission had, that no, they want the option of 1 block, and they would be okay with that block rotating from year to year.
Was that essentially cost driven, however?
No, I don't think so. I think it was clear that we planned to lower the price of the Farmers Market Pavilion to make it more attractive. And in fact, the price that we had originally proposed, was, in fact, more than the Farmers Market Pavilion.
Is there any penalty for somebody who's putting on an event that will not take up the 4 blocks to just rent the whole 4 blocks for $325? Because it's not a significant amount of money for a large event, and they could then get their pick. So I'm just wondering,
you all are going to have some say in that, because as I said, only the DDA is going to be able to close those streets. So you're either partnering with that event or you're sponsoring that event, and we would anticipate that you'll have some opinion about whether or not it's a large enough event to close all 4 blocks of downtown. And then part of the process here is to make sure that the event is a benefit to the downtown as well, not just the event organizers, that they're going to draw a sufficient crowd to make it worth the trouble of having the streets closed for the businesses that are on that street or those streets.
And I forgot to ask this in the meeting the other day, Greg, but is this something where they are going to need to bring in porta potties? I know Artalicious does it. I mean, that's, especially because if it's 1 block, how are they getting to bathrooms, things like that, unless they are at the Farmers Market Pavilion, which is a big draw to go there because now there's going to be bathrooms. But is that going to be part of this as well, that they need to provide porta potties? Because I was thinking about that the last couple of days, and how Artalicious always has that, but I haven't seen it at all the other events.
Yeah, I think that's part of the event planning assistance that we hope DDA Main Street will give them. I wouldn't say it's necessarily required at every event. It depends on whether the library is open or other places are open where folks can go. We do think that over time, as people realize that the farmers market is a very desirable space, that it has amenities, and there will be more in the future when the electricity is upgraded there, that they want, that are useful, and having downtown event, that people will migrate there, and as opposed to doing just one block closures, but we are giving them that opportunity if they want to avail themselves of it.
Other comments on that?
As we go forward, is this something where we could look at doing? Maybe just rotating. I know that those businesses on those 2 blocks are not going to be happy to hear this idea, but I'm just throwing it out there. Could it be because we have things coming in the works on South Main, but they're not there yet? Is this something where we could look at just rotating East Maumee and North Main for this first year, and, you know, see where South Main progresses and then add that one back in? Just throwing that out there, just because it's a lot of service oriented businesses right now. There's really, other than, you know, like there's the Moose and Club 109, there's just really not much on that block right now. There's going to be, but right now there's not. Just a thought, because we know it's coming, but it hasn't happened yet. And maybe that's something more for the future. Just a thought, but I know that you've had complaints from businesses on both East Maumee and on North Main that they hate when the roads close and it affects their business. So I know they would not be happy to hear that thought, but just trying to think a little bit more outside the box and think proactively of how to accommodate some of these groups, make downtown an attraction where people want to come have their event. And then as South Main progresses, you know, adding that in.
I think also, isn't Seasons being renovated? I mean, if I had a small to medium sized crowd, that block on West Maumee is jumping. It's got Challengers, it's got Musgrove, it's going to have a brewery. I don't necessarily think it's out of the question that somebody would want West Maumee.
I guess
They will have that opportunity if they want it. We just won't force them to take it. What may happen, on the point regarding South Main, what may end up happening this year is, because park houses, we would anticipate going to be under construction, that the construction activity may preclude that. But, you know, Nova's at the end, I would assume, would not want us to exclude that one from the rotation, because they stand to benefit from those crowds.
Speaking as a business that's on East Maumee, we love it when we have the events. Personally, I know there's been some gruff from other businesses, but it's exposure to our business. It's fun. But the one thing that I think as a business owner, I would love is for the porta potty thing, because that's the one, like, people come in and use our restroom and then they end up destroyed. So I think we would be more likely to be excited about the events when there's outside rest areas for them to use.
You know, when I visit other communities and you see these street closures they do for a summer, you know, they'll lock things down, and it's a natural spot in the sequence, like Depot Town and Ipsy and different places. They say that's the spot. This seems to be the most natural spot. It is. And so it's tough. If we ever talked about, and probably don't want to bring this up too much, of a summertime closure on something in this town, this would be the street. But I think we need to get together as a committee or something of this nature and get a formal recommendation to the commission as to how we would measure the events. What, you know, you have criteria you've already been working on, whether or not they need porta potties, the meaningfulness to and whether they're partners, you know, whether it's going to be meaningful to our downtown business owners and the like. So I think we got a little work to do to give that recommendation to the commission. So what would that fall under? Promotions, still under promotion committee. All right. Other questions on that or comments? So, all right. Thank you, Greg.
Hey, you're welcome.
All right, we have a couple of action items here. So this is the recommendation for the food truck.
Yeah, so it's recommendation of the executive director of Downtown Adrian Main Street DDA that the Main Street DDA board recommend to the city commission to allow food trucks in city-owned parking lots while adhering to the 100-foot rule and other current regulations. So we've had a number of establishments close that provide food downtown. We're looking at increasing that. Michelle, can you go down to the map? We just right there it is. So while adhering to the 100-foot rule, you can see that it would be limited areas that would offer opportunity to have food trucks. We've had businesses that have asked to have food trucks, and the city ordinance hasn't allowed it this time. I think this is something that the commission would consider. The unique and nice thing about this is it's not set in stone. As new businesses open, new food establishments, it would reduce the availability for the parking lot. So we'd still be supporting our brick and mortar businesses while taking care of our visitors and our crowds downtown. This would be when streets aren't closed. When the streets are closed, there's a different process because we don't allow them in the parking lots because we need those parking lots for people to visit downtown. But it's just when streets aren't closed. So if a taco truck wanted to come on a Tuesday or a Monday when fewer restaurants are open, it would give them an opportunity to do things like that in these limited areas.
Yeah, we have had specific requests. And of course, it gets into where do you position the trucks and do you allow for that? And even the request of serving alcohol at their events and all kinds of things. You know, the 6-foot fence rule is in effect for anybody that wants to serve alcohol in the Dara district. And you have to have security and you have to make sure everything's good. So that's sort of what prohibits it somewhat. But, you know, this would, they have a rather strict rule about food trucks, and this is us loosening it up a little bit with our recommendation, just to get a little bit of room in there. So any comments, questions? Any concerns? If none, I entertain a motion to recommend to the city commission to amend the food truck ordinance. There's a motion, is there support? Okay, Margaret. There was support, was there? Did I hear support? Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Thank you, Jay. And then committee assignments.
Yes, it's the recommendation of the executive director that the Downtown Adrian Main Street DDA board form and make appointments to the recommended Main Street working committees. So in your packets, you saw the committee assignments. This was based on some input from the executive committee, inputs from other people, and a couple of you just got put on committees. You're more than welcome to attend any of the other committees that are available. We looked at kind of skill sets when deciding these. And you can attend any or all of the committee events if you choose to. We just can't have a quorum at the committees.
How many is a quorum, Jay? 7?
7 would be a quorum.
A couple of other questions on the committees. Are there any formal requirements for committee meetings? Do we need minutes? Do we follow Robert's rules? Or does it just kind of informal report back to the board?
In a perfect world, you'd have reports come back before the meeting. But we've had trouble really organizing committees at this point. We're just now getting to that stage. And the way it's structured in Main Street is there needs to be a chairperson for each committee. So right now we have new people on the board and we've had some changes and the like, but the most active committee is promotions, obviously at the moment. It is the most active that we have. But yeah, that would be ideal, but I don't want to put that much pressure on it. Yeah, I would like to see, if you see on here that you would prefer to be on a different committee and that you just let me know so that we can get this. If you feel like you would like to chair one of these committees, I know that's funny, but if you would, I would really appreciate it. Just to get everybody organized, and Zoom allows for a little bit more ease with these types of this type of committee work. So, but it would be great if I could get some leadership step up on each of these. Design is, as we talked about, not very, we get the beautification inside there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that committee, but organization committee is here and there. But like I said, most of the time, promotion and fundraising will become very active, and Town and Gown will be working on the back to school bash and a few other things as we move forward as well. So let me know. But I'll reach out to me. I'd just love to to have some leadership step up on these committees.
And I have, I'm composing emails that will bring in National Main Street recommendations, Michigan Main Street information, and I'll have a doc in there so we can, by the end of the month, pick a meeting day to kind of get and talk about where we're going and what's happening.
So for now, as really a board action, I don't know if we need a vote to accept these these, I've never seen that before, but if just the action is that we form the committee. So let me know if you want to change. All right. Okay, thank you. Going on to promotion committees, and under that is First Friday Committee, Michelle Dewey, committee chair.
Which brings me, I guess, to a question about the promotion committee. So previously I was on that committee. How is that committee going to coordinate with the First Fridays committee?
So really that will help with the budget. We'll probably have 1 or 2 people from the promotion committee on that First Friday committee and really just provide the feedback from First Friday to the promotion committee. There'll be other committees from promotions. You'll see like the farmers market will be under there, Town and Gown is under there. So really they're kind of subcommittees of that promotions committee. But those individual committees will have their own, their own direction and guidance. It's just falling under promotions.
So at the First Friday committee level, when we're trying to determine budgets and sponsorships for bands and things like that, then do we need to run that through the promotions committee? I guess that's where I'm confused how that will.
Yeah, the promotion committee would provide that guidance to First Friday. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so Maple Frost went really well. We raised $12,481. So $6,240.50 of that will go to DDA Main Street. It was a great event, and March First Friday is coming up next.
It's absolutely extraordinary, amazing. I know you made mention that there was 150 people down here, but this one maybe doesn't bring the most amount of people, but sure did get a lot of coverage and produced income and really made a difference, a huge difference in that particular First Friday. So amazing, Michelle.
I thought it was a great idea. It was just so bitter cold, like people just couldn't go stand around. I couldn't even believe you guys jumping in.
Stand around. What about jumping in it?
I know.
I'm kidding. I'm just
kidding. The videos that were coming through, whoever did those did a really nice job with them.
Dave said he almost had frostbite on his feet.
That's because he wore a wetsuit because he's a cheater. I just want to point that out. The rest of us wore regular bathing suits.
The water, the splash.
I don't know. We don't know. We don't want to point that out.
Oh, yes.
Agreed.
Awesome. What do we have for March here?
I haven't decided on the theme yet.
Okay, it's just not on there. All right. Anything further on that?
I just want to say again, Michelle, thank you for all your work with First Fridays and everything. You guys do a really great job. You and our partnership with the city is just completely amazing. We really appreciate your help with everything.
Ditto. All right. Town and Gown Committee, anything, Michael, at this time?
I can. So the Town and Gown Committee met. They brought together, we had LASD, Jackson, Siena Heights, and then we received some communications from Adrian College, updates on what was happening in each of the respective, some preliminary discussions of the welcome back event for students, talking about maybe having it during the September 1st Friday. The group was interested in to see what maybe having the students down so they can see what it looks like when downtown is really pumping and jamming. So they're gonna look at an opportunity maybe to have an isolated part for students and let them just have their part of one of the streets somewhere, and then the involvement within the First Friday event itself. So more to come on that. Did I miss anything?
I would just
on the top.
I would just add, we also have a tradition of a networking event. And while we didn't plan one on the books at this last meeting, if there are opportunities within DDA or through the community that might be beneficial to help our students get to know downtown businesses, we'd really like to build their skills and make those connections.
Excellent. Any questions for Mike or Jay on that? All right, thank you. As is the organization committee, as I said, we'll be fundraising committee here soon. And then economic vitality. These are on the agenda so that when the committees form and start working on some of the, and like Jay said, there's literature on what these committees are supposed to do and the scope of their work and the like. So he'll be getting that out to everyone so you can get a good feel for what the expectation is there. Any questions? Tim, you're up. Thank you.
Sorry. Looking right at the agenda too. Sorry. Hi, Tim Robinson, Lenawee now. A couple things. The enhancement grants moving forward. We signed the contract. Now we're just waiting for, I guess, some more details from the state. As far as Lenawee Now's business, the startup, you know, we have the BAT team, the business assistance team. A lot of activity there. It's been constant throughout the last several years. What's good is we've got a couple manufacturers, startup manufacturers they're looking at, that we're working with. Some retail, like to have some more retail, and some tech, some honest to God tech. So it's a really nice diversity of new business startups here in Lenawee County. I'm really excited about. Our existing business, it's the same issue we've heard for the last 2 years. We can't find people. So we are working on that. And as attractions go, a couple in the hopper, manufacturing, all the RFPs coming in right now are manufacturing, large manufacturing is looking at mostly electric vehicle related stuff. And then we have a couple of local expansions that if they take place will be pretty big for both of those will be in Adrian. But so like I say, busier than bees. It's really good to be busy like that. If there's any questions, be happy to answer.
Any questions for Tim? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I know that as another organization that I participate in is the Lenawee Development Finance Authority. And I believe they approved some funding for the armory to help them really vamp up launch Lenawee. And of course, they've increased the capacity of their kitchen, makerspace kitchen, and the cooler and a few other things they're working on at this time. So, you know, I'm real glad that has taken place and focus on entrepreneurship in this area. So other DDA matters. Main Street matters. I got to get better at that. Yeah, it's just changing Main Street, so I quit saying that. All right, public comment.
Good morning, Don Taylor, 475 Meadowbrook Drive. Save the date, September 16th and 17th is our 16th annual Artlicious Fine Arts Fair. We're working on something very special for South Main Street. If you went to the Polar Plunge, we didn't make it for a health reason with my wife. But anyway, David wore a wetsuit. We're working on a special event where David's going to wear a Speedo on South Main Street. So just stay tuned. We'll give you more details on that. Okay. Anyway. So with regards to the rotation of streets, and I understand that, I used to have a building on West Maumee Street. And I appreciate what you're saying about South Main Street. On the other hand, rather than just pushing it aside, figure out what you can do to make it more attractive. Okay. I mean, look at what we've done on some of the buildings when you walk by and you see things in the window and they may be empty, but it looks a little bit different. It's a good, so anyway, think about that. And also, I'm trying to remember who said about West Maumee Street. That also, depending on the size of your organization, can be a very good street. There's only a couple of buildings that aren't totally rehabbed at this point. So keep thinking about that. Porta potty discussion. We've always provided a lot of porta potties at our delicious. And I think along with the library and other facilities, that's pretty good. And that's important. I know sometimes people go into businesses and even though there's porta potties across the street or whatever, but we do need to provide porta potties for sure. I mean, that cost me about $900 a year to provide porta potties. So anyway, we do look forward to partnering and being a partner organization with the DDA Main Street. I think you're doing a great job on what you're doing. Again, I'm not sure what day during our delicious that David will be doing his special performance, but put that back of your mind. I know this meeting is being recorded and I'll probably regret having said that, but gotcha, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Other public comments?
Okay. Gordon Gauss, 432 State Street. Coincidentally, I was at this meeting Monday night where we discussed street closures, and I agree with what City Administrator Elliott had to say. Generally speaking, and to Margaret's point, yeah, there's consensus, and I don't think there's going to be any problem with passing the resolution. After the meeting, actually yesterday, I had several of the event organizers reach out to me and pointed out things that, quite frankly, I never thought of. And I still support and will continue to support the street closures and the rotation. The City Commission is not the most diverse group, you know, that you could possibly have. And I look around here and this isn't a really diverse group either in terms of ethnicity and things like that. So what I didn't consider, and people brought to me, one of the attractive things about East Maumee is they like to be in front of City Hall because they feel that there's a symbolic relationship between their event, whether it's Pride or Juneteenth. They look at being in front of City Hall as being, again, symbolic support of their organization. So that's something we need to keep in the back of our minds. Like I said, I would never have thought of that, but I had at least 2 event organizers come to me and say, you know, we understand why you want to rotate the block, or the blocks, but did you ever consider the fact that this is what's really important to us? Not so much the bars and the restaurants, but just being in front of City Hall. So just something to keep in the back of our minds as we look at it. The other thing I just want to mention on the subcommittees that you're forming, an issue came up or a question came up yesterday at the county meeting. And I think we need to maybe defer this to the opinion of the city attorney. The issue was how many of these subcommittees require or fall under the Open Meetings Act, and do they in fact fall under the Open Meetings Act? So, you know, if we're discussing certainly on the city business, when we have different committees, they do. I don't know whether it would apply to your subcommittee meetings, but it's something we probably ought to take a look at. Thank you.
Excellent.
I think as long as we don't have a quorum, it's not an issue. Is that right?
So I think that would be true. But how many meetings are going to have a quorum? Not a quorum of this group, a quorum of the subcommittee.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would expect that most subcommittee meetings would have a quorum.
I would agree that that is correct.
All right, we'll look into it for sure and read the book. I got the handbook at the office.
It's worth having a side legal opinion.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. All right. I think that is true.
All right, Jay will check with our city attorney on that. Excellent. Man, that sun is something else. It was middle blind. I think I'm blind. All right. Any other public comment? Wow. All right. I have no further comments as the chair. So is there any other board member comments? I know.
What?
I have no opinion. Any other board member comments? Upcoming meeting and events. March 1st Friday is March 3rd. The theme is being determined. I think I heard. And downtown Adrian DDA meeting would be March 8th at 8 a.m. here again. So committees, see, get to organize, see if we can have a meeting between now and the next meeting, so we can have that going. A fundraising committee, I'll be calling on you very shortly. I believe we have a nice pitch book now, and I think we can start sitting down with all of our stakeholders. So
Jay, did I understand you're going to make initial sort of reach out to the committees before they organize themselves? Okay.
Yeah, yep, I have, I plan on having those out today.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna do after the meeting, so.
excellent. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there support? Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed the same. Thank you.